Hey, beautiful people, welcome to episode 170 of Credit 101. In this episode, we're going to talk about how you guys can get creditors to consider your spouse's credit history. So, if your spouse has a good credit and you want to actually get access to it, or you want to be able to have all of that added to your credit report, or you just want to get approved for something and you want them to consider that, then I'm going to talk about what you need to do. So, the first thing is, I want you guys to just apply for joint accounts. If you apply for a joint account with your spouse, they're going to have to consider their history. So if you want to consider a history, just apply for joint accounts. Also, get added as an authorized user on some of their credit cards because their good history is going to go on your credit reports, which means they're technically considering that because it's technically theirs. They worked for it. So think about that, or ask your spouse to co-sign on a loan for you. That can help you because they're going to consider their credit. And just make sure that if you want to make sure that they are considered, or you like, I don't know if they're going to consider it, don't think too hard about it. But if you put their information on your application, a lot of times, double check with the company. A lot of times, if you put their information on there, they're going to check, especially if you put that as your spouse. So if you put it on there, that means that you want them to actually consider it. Okay. And just understand, if you put their information on there, they probably gonna get a hard pull and all those things too. But those are four different things that you guys can think about to make sure that your spouse's information is going to be considered, their credit history is going to be considered. In the next episode, we're going to talk about what we don't want them to consider. Like, don't look at all. We're going to talk about that in episode 171. Hey, beautiful people, it's Rickita. I'm back with another video. In this video, we're going to talk about how you guys can get the creditors to disregard your spouse's credit history. I have to do this before, and what I have to do is very, very simple in a way, and it's literally just ask. So ask the creditor, is there a way I can get this loan without my spouse's credit history being considered? Certain loans, you don't even need to put them on there because you got individual loans and you have joint loans. So you can always just ask them, can they not consider it? If there's something that's on their credit report, you can ask them to not consider that specific thing. They're gonna only say yes or no. And again, if you have the option to do individual account, don't go ahead and do the individual account. When you do a joint account, that means you're actually adding your spouse on. You're saying, yes, we're going to do this together. So if it's just an individual account, you don't want the information to be included, all you have to do is just get an individual account. And if you guys do not want your spouse's information to start mixing with yours, where you guys are going to start having a lot of each other accounts on each other's credit reports, then don't add your spouse on as an authorized user. And also, because we already talked about not just doing a credit card with them, so don't add them on as an authorized user, and then you can avoid them actually having accounts being tied with yours. Because if you're not doing joint and you're not doing authorized user, it's really no way that a lot of those accounts are going to be on each other credit reports, and you can avoid them not even looking at those accounts too if you don't do those two things. But I hope that this is helpful. If you guys have any questions, definitely let me know. Hey, welcome to episode 172 of Credit 101. In this episode, we're going to talk about the next steps you have to do to actually get credit. When you're in a rebuilding stage, let's talk about what you actually have to do to start rebuilding. So the first thing is you got to assess what your situation is. Everybody have different situations, so you have to see where you're at. Actually get your credit report, look at your credit reports, and get all three credit reports. You can get them for free at annualcreditreport.com. I always have a link down below where you can get your credit scores and your credit reports, all three of them. They have $1 trial, Danny IQ for $1. I have that down below. But you guys have to get your credit reports and see exactly where you at and see exactly what your score is. You got to know where you're at first. So definitely get your credit reports. And I definitely suggest that you guys create a budget and a financial plan so you can know, like, what are you doing? Are you going to be paying off your debt? Are you just trying to increase your credit score? Are you going to be saving for future expenses? Like, what are some of your goals? And I want you guys to develop a budget, because when you have credit cards, you always can think, or if you start building up your account, you always think, oh, I can just use this extra money and I'll just pay it back. But if you're not budgeting and you don't know exactly how much you have coming in, you don't know how much you could possibly well, how much you could pay back. So definitely make sure you guys create a budget and a financial plan, because it's going to help you. And if you guys have any negative accounts in your credit reports, please address them. At the end of this video, I'm going to show you guys how you guys can get free dispute letters to address these different accounts. But dispute your errors that's on your credit report, and then do any type of negotiations. If you want to negotiate or settle an account, this is the best time to do it. And negotiation can be just paying down debt. You could do the snowball method, where you're going to do the smallest to largest, or you can prioritize your debt with like the avalanche, where you're doing the highest interest rate down, until you get to the lowest one. You're just listing them. Figure out whatever you want to do to pay off your debt. Find out what method is good for you, and think about paying down some debt if you guys do have debt while you're trying to rebuild. And make sure you guys establish a positive credit history. So you want to make sure when you open a new account, um, you're not having any type of missed payments. Put everything on auto pay. Make sure you guys keeping your utilization very, very low. I always say 5% whenever you want to apply for something. But just making sure you're paying a statement balance by the due date to not be charged any interest. Those are the two things I like to make sure that I live by. And if you guys are doing that, you're going to be establishing history. And make sure you have at least 4 credit cards and 2 installment accounts, really, to get you a nice amount of history, so you can really get you a house, get you a car right after those start aging, literally. So monitor your credit regularly too. So I want you guys to start looking at your credit reports. Every morning I wake up, I look at my credit reports. And also, if you guys are not like every morning, I look at my credit, I look at my bank accounts. If you guys are not every morning, then try to do it just every week. See how that goes for you. So try to see if you can just check, say, hey, every Friday after I get paid or whatever it is, I'm going to just look at my credit scores, credit reports, and see if there's anything changed, see how much my credit scores went up and how much it actually went down. Now, make sure that you guys maintain good financial habits throughout this process. And when I say maintain good habits, maintaining good habits is just some of the stuff I said. Just auto pay for everything, having your budget, paying down any debt, keep your utilization low. These are great habits. And if you feel like you're getting lost, you have any questions, make sure you guys seek professional advice. And if you guys ever have any questions for me, you guys can call me. My phone number is 833-Rickita, or you can go right here to my website, Rickita.com, and schedule a call. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you all may have. Hey, welcome to episode 173 of Credit 101. In this episode, we're going to talk about how many credit cards you should have. Now, I think I have a very simple answer to this, and I don't want to waste anybody's time. And a very simple answer is have as many credit cards as you can actually handle. And you have to understand what come with credit cards. Now, usually when you start getting credit cards, you just say, okay, I want to start building my credit. And then you start thinking, oh, I want to get credit cards for the rewards. You may start going down different paths, but I always go back to the point where I want you guys to be able to responsibly manage it. If you cannot responsibly manage your credit cards, making sure all your credit cards, the statement balance is paid by the due date, because if you're not doing that, you're just giving away money to these companies and you're going into debt, because they're going to be able to charge you interest. So if you're not doing that, making sure that all of them are paid on time, everything is on auto pay, you're keeping your utilization down and you're not overusing it. Like if you can't do those things, then please make sure you guys just limit it to what you can manage. I do have a sheet that I use, and I'm going to make sure I attach it to this video, but I had a sheet that I was using where I actually lined up all my credit cards and I put the due dates on them, and I put what's my limit. It's a thing that can actually help me track my utilization and also track my credit cards. And sometimes too, if I have 0% APR credit cards, I have them highlighted so that I can track those also. But I use this sheet, and I think that you guys should use this also. Make sure that you keep your credit cards organized, keeping them in one space. Sometimes I don't know if you guys may have this problem, but sometimes I have to switch out certain credit cards that I may be using. Maybe I'm trying to put more money on one credit card to ask for an increase for it, or whatever the case may be. So I have to make sure I switch out my credit cards, but I try to keep all of my other credit cards that I'm not using or I don't have in my wallet for everyday use. I try to make sure I keep them put up. So make sure you guys are keeping your credit cards put up. But to start off, you want to just build your credit. Just start off with about 4 credit cards and make sure that you're paying the statement balance by the due date. Make sure that you're budgeting to know how much you can technically spend and track what you're going to be using each credit card for. So make sure you know. So I say, okay, my Walgreens credit card, if I'm going to Walgreens, I want to do some couponing. I want to get a lot of stuff for free. I want to use my Walgreens credit card because it's going to make it so that I'm getting all of my stuff at my home for free. And I know, okay, that's what that credit card is for. I'm not going to use it for anything else. And then I know, okay, this my Discover card I'm going to use for this. I'm going to use my American Express. I'll know exactly what I'm going to be using each credit card for because I'm looking at also my cash back that I am receiving. But start to know what you're going to use each credit card for, or if it's a credit card you're just going to have just to have open, just have there maybe for, you already got your emergency fund. Make sure you guys have your emergency fund put to the side, at least $1,000 minimum. Have that to the side, but maybe you want to have a credit card saying, okay, I got $5,000 here. If something was to happen, at least I can tap into that, or whatever the case may be for you all. But just make sure no matter what, you guys can manage it. And if you're not, again, paying the statement balance by the due date, you guys are paying a lot of money in interest, and you really should probably slow down with your credit use and pay down or pay off those credit cards and do balance transfers. But if you find yourself in that situation, definitely seek a professional. And I'm going to make sure I put that sheet down below so that you guys can actually download it, because it's going to help you all a lot in terms of tracking your credit. Hey, beautiful people, it's Rickita and I'm back with another video. So in this video, we're going to talk about ways to boost your chance of getting approved for a credit card. Now, these are some things that you guys probably already heard before, but I'm telling y'all, we just need to do the basics with getting approved for a credit card. We have to understand that it's nothing like really major. It's just the small fundamental things that we have to continue to look into, basically. So the first thing is, I want you guys to make sure that you're checking your credit reports and checking your credit scores. If you want to boost your chance of getting approved, you need to know what is on your credit reports and what's your credit score, because different credit cards want different things. So you can't say, oh, I want to get a Chase credit card if you got a 520 credit score. If you have a 520 credit score, you need to get a secure credit card. But you cannot know what you're able to get really until you actually look at your credit score and say, okay, I know where I'm at. Let me see what my options are. So please know what your credit score is and try to improve your credit score. If your credit score is not the best, please improve it. So just paying all your bills on time, make sure everything is on auto pay, remove any late payments that you have, remove any negative accounts that you have. If you all go to my website, Rickita.com, I do have some free dispute letters. So here it is here. I have some free dispute letters that you all can download. So start removing these late payments, any negative accounts, because that's going to increase your chances of actually getting approved. And keep your utilization low. So if you have credit cards, make sure you guys pay down your credit cards. I have a utilization tracker so that you guys can track the utilization on your credit cards and play with the numbers. I know Credit Karma do tell you what your utilization is, but I like to play with the numbers so I can say, okay, I need to pay it on this credit card, or what amount do I need to pay so I can get it down. I love it to be at 5% when I apply for anything. I know it's going to be my best credit score. I always want to put my best foot forward when I apply for credit cards, and avoid all of those hard inquiries that you guys can get from applying for too many credit cards, because those hard inquiries can actually drop your lower your credit score, and you don't want that to happen. And make sure you guys are choosing the right card. This is the third thing I want to talk about. Choose the right card. So start with a secure credit card if your credit score is very, very low, and then look for credit cards again that's designed for your credit level. So research these credit cards, and then I even have something on my website where you guys can pre-qualify for credit cards. It's like 45 different accounts. I know I tell you guys this all the time. I'm going to show you guys after I go through this list how to actually access the website, how to look at the website, but definitely pre-qualify for those credit cards. That credit card, if you pre-qualify for it, it's going to tell you yes or no without the hard inquiry, and that's what you need. You don't want to get a hard inquiry for no reason. So I really want you guys to try to pre-qualify. That way you don't have to play too much of the guessing game and just mess around and get a hard inquiry. And again, prepare for the application. Make sure everything is together. Make sure your utilization is in check before you apply, because once they get your credit report, that is what they're going off of. That is what they're going off of. So before I actually graduated, I had a problem with one of my professors. So I just literally graduated and I had a problem with one of my professors. And I'm like, I'm about to graduate. Like, it's no way. And I'm like, you need to fix this. But I could have just said, you know what? I'll take this class next semester and just graduate. I'm not going to. And I was like, no. This is what I need to get done. So when you guys, I knew I applied for graduation, I was already approved. I just have to finish these classes. So the same thing is, you want to get approved for the credit card as long as you got your stuff in order. So make sure you have everything in order. Keep your utilization low, no late payments, the negative accounts. All these different things are factors into it. So we already talked about it, you know, with different accounts, removing them. So just make sure your application is ready and you have a utilization down. And make sure you guys build positive credit history. When you guys want to get certain credit cards, you have to understand that you have to have a certain amount of credit cards. Like, for example, Apple's not going to just take a chance on you and give you a credit card if you never had a credit card. I have seen Apple want you to have other credit cards reporting first before they give you a chance and give you a credit card. So start building that positive credit history. Make sure all your credit cards, all of your accounts that can be on auto pay, make sure that they are on auto pay, because them late payments are going to hurt you. And again, that pre-qualification, use the tool on my website. So you utilize the pre-qualification tools right on my website, Rickita.com, because that utilization is going to be very, very important too. Even when you do the pre-qualification, if you pre-qualify for a credit card and you pay down, if you don't get approved, or they like, no, can't give you one. If you pay down some of your credit cards, you will see that you will have a greater chance of getting approved for the credit card that you just applied for. If you pay down some of your credit cards, you may find out that they may approve you. So utilize that pre-qualification. And I always think about, who is that? Aaliyah. At first you don't succeed, pick yourself up and try again, because that's real. If you want it, do the pre-qualification. Because I remember when I went to get Discover at one time, they told me no. And they kept telling me no. And I'm like, what is up? So I just like, okay, maybe I have some other things I need to work on. Let me get my utilization down. Make sure all these things are in order. And then I tried every month. I tried though. I pre-qualify every month, and then eventually it gave it to me. So do the pre-qualification, because it's not a hard inquiry. So definitely make sure you guys do it. And again, it's on my website, Rickita.com. The next thing is, I want you guys to consider applying with a co-applicant. So maybe you want to add someone on if you're having not the best time with building your credit. Maybe you want to add someone else onto the application. And this is really good too when you guys are trying to get a vehicle too. But with credit cards, you guys can do the same thing. You can add a co-applicant on and they can consider their credit too. So that could be a good thing. Or maybe, again, let's kind of skip a few steps. Maybe you want to be added as an authorized user on someone else's credit card too. You know, maybe that right there can boost your credit score, and that can boost your chances of actually getting approved for a credit card. And understand that timing is everything. If you just got a late payment last month, maybe you want to wait a few months. Maybe you want to work on removing it. The late payment, to me, you have a better chance of getting approved for certain credit cards when that late payment is like a year or 2 years old. So you don't want to apply right away, but you know, if it's been some time, still try. Do the pre-qualification. I've also seen this with bankruptcies. So if you do have a bankruptcy on your credit report, you haven't removed it yet, then I want you all to understand that if you just filed bankruptcy, that thing was just added. Depending on what it is, Chapter 13 is going to be harder to get credit cards compared to Chapter 7 bankruptcy. But you have to understand that you may not get approved because you just have bankruptcy. You have no positive accounts probably. You haven't started building your credit. But if you already filed bankruptcy 4 years ago, I still see people like, oh, I filed bankruptcy and I look and it's 5 years old. I'm like, you could have had perfect credit by now if you would have started building your credit. So understand the timing and just apply at the right time and build a relationship with your bank. I did this with a credit union. And when I built a relationship with them, they was able to give me a home equity line of credit. Well, actually, it wasn't a line of credit. It was a loan. I was able to get a loan own our properties. I was like, oh, this is nice. They gave me a credit card. My car was upside down. But once I started building a relationship, they was like, oh, your car is upside down. That's okay. You got a high interest rate. We'll give you a new loan with a lower interest rate. And that's just because I have accounts with them. And they're like, okay, she's doing good. I built the relationship. So you don't necessarily have to do like the pre-qualification for some of those. You can go to your local credit union, the bank that you're already at, and build a relationship with them, and they'll most likely be able to extend credit to you. And a good one for this is Navy Federal. And make sure you guys review and monitor your credit regularly. Like, keep looking. I'm nosy when it comes down to my credit. Like, I need to know, like, what is up? What is my credit score? Every morning I'm looking at it. So I want you guys to do the same thing. So review and monitor your credit regularly. But let's actually go ahead and look at how to actually look at those credit cards when you can pre-qualify without a hard